Hello, and welcome back to another video. Today we are reviewing the MCBC 20 teams. Now, if you're wondering what MCBC is, MCBC is a Minecraft Bedrock event, and this is the first time I will be reviewing it. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and maybe even subscribe if you feel like it. But other than that, let's get into it. First up, we have Blue Blobs with Mixer, Vercon, and Irish Potato. Now, in my opinion, this team is kind of strong. Their weakest player is Irish, who recently has been doing very well. I think their lowest placement or team placement in the last four events was fourth, which isn't that bad, to be honest. Now, the scoring for this event is a bit more team based, but even still, that's kind of good. And then we have Mixer, who unfortunately had to get subbed out last event, or at least midway through the event. But he is pretty good and has like or at least for the last four events, has a very high average. And I think they've placed top five every time. And then we have Vercon, who is also like pretty decent. This team just seems like a pretty all-around team. I don't know how good PvP will go, but I definitely feel like parkour or gauntlet will be decent for them. But yeah. Next up we have Red Rats with Ian the Lad, Bingus Plays, and Jane Dog 77. Now, unfortunately for Bingus, last event he did have to get subbed out midway through, which is unfortunate, but it's what it is. As far as how good this team is in games, they're all like pretty decent. Although I do think PvP might be a little bit hard for them, just maybe. Ian did very well last event, and he always does like very well in general. So he's obviously very good. And then we have Bingus, who he's played like a bit. I don't actually know how much because I've only watched MCBC for like the last four events. But he's pretty like decent, although he struggles a little bit more in PvP, sort of. And then we have Jaden, who has done like okay in the few events he's played in, but overall, this seems like a pretty okay team. I definitely think they have a chance of making top two, but it might be a little bit hard depending on game order. But other than that, they're pretty solid. Next up, we have Golden Ghost with Plushy33, Rubixel, and DJ Philly. Now, this team is kind of crazy in parkour. The Plushy Rubixel duo is kind of hype. Now, obviously, Rubixel hasn't done too well in his last few events, but I think Plushy will be able to bring in like his best performance yet, or at least that's what I think, or so far. Obviously, Plushy is very cracked. He has done very well in most of the events, and he's just like a good all around player. Like he has a lot of like game sense, and he's pretty decent at PvP as well. So I definitely think he will do well. And then Rubixel has had like a hard time in the last few events, but he's definitely a good player, especially in parkour. He got very far in Gauntlet once. I don't remember which event. I think it was last event. Yeah, it was the last event. But he didn't get like the a very good gate bonus. So he's definitely good and he can definitely do very well. I think in PvP as well. And then DJ Philly is also like pretty decent. They're not like too bad. So overall, I think this team will stride in PvP. like Battle Royale and Overrun with good comms, this team is very strong. But yeah. Next up, we have Green Goblins with Prime Strat, Gigi the Puppy, and Bear. Now, Bear did sub in midway through the event for Mixer, so they don't actually have like full stats. But Bear, she is definitely pretty good at the game, like a pretty good all rounder. And then we have Prime, who did great last event, and I think got sixth, if I can remember. They did obviously lose Bingus during Rift Race, but even with that, they still did pretty well, and they made a pretty good comeback. They were in like sixth after the first three games, but then came back. So definitely, he's definitely very good. And then you have Gigi, who didn't do that well last event, but I definitely think she's a very good like supporting player. And this team will definitely have. I think this team will definitely have like strong comms. So games like I forgot the building game's name, but that one. And then I feel like if it's in, if it's not vaulted, I think Relic could also maybe be a good game for them. But even then, this team's like kind of all rounded in all games. So yeah. Next up, we have Purple Pumpkins with Peters HD, Danda Plays, and Zan Games. Now, Danda was meant to play last event, however, he couldn't. So, his last event, he did do very well. He got first in the visual, and his team did great overall. And he himself is just a great player overall, especially in like PvP. I feel like that's where he like strides. And then in the other games, he's like not too bad as well. And then we have Peters, who's also like a very like good player. Like maybe not as strong in PvP, but he's still like very well. Now Zan hasn't done too well in their last few events. However, even still, I still think this is like a solid team. I definitely think games like gladiators will be good for them, and maybe even rift race possibly. But yeah, last but not least, we have the orange ogres with Slate, Slender Guy, and Escrib. Now, Slender has done okay in like the majority of the events he's been in, and he did like, and he's never done like, to my knowledge, he's never done like too well. Slates is very good. Slates does like very good in like every event he's like been in. So there's that, and then I have no idea how good Skrilk is. Uh, as far as games this team can be good at, I have like no clue. I think I think this is like a very like oddball team. I feel like it can go like either way for this team. They could do like pretty well and like surprise people, or they could do very bad. It really just depends on what games get played or what games are in the event. There is a new overrun map, I think, if I remember. But anyway, yeah. And that is it for this MCBC 20 teams review. Now, this video is probably going to be shorter than most of my other team reviews, purely on the fact that there's just less people in this event compared to most other events I review. So, there is that. But anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. Next week, yeah, if it happens, I don't know if it is going to happen. I'm not sure, but I'm going to probably be making a Block Wars Origins team review again. It's most likely going to be next week if their teams do come out that week. But other than that, bye bye.